Here we go. We'll call the meeting of the Minot City Council to order for today, Monday, July 19th, 2021. It is 5:30 in the afternoon. I would ask everyone to go ahead and put their electronic devices on silent or on mute so we can keep the distractions down to a minimum. Apologize for the heat as it is over 80 degrees in here already, so we'll try to keep this meeting as short as we can. Roll call, please.
Evans?
Here.
Janser?
Here.
Olson? Here. Pittner?
Here.
Pajagula?
Here.
Ross?
Here.
Sitma?
Here. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Number 3 on our agenda this afternoon is the City Manager's Report. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, I'll keep this brief this evening. There's a memo outlined in the packet, but I did want to give a public reminder that this Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. there is a public input session with regards to the new City Hall. Would definitely encourage all the public to come out and see the renderings and the drawings of what's being proposed and what that would look like. And now's a great time to offer that input if you have any suggested changes or things that are missed. And that'll be, again, this Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. here at the current City Hall. And unless the council has any other questions, I have nothing else to report this evening.
Thank you, Harold. Any questions for our city manager on any of his written report? All right. Seeing none, we will go ahead and move on to number 4, and this is consider the report of the Planning Commission. We did have 5 different items that were forwarded to us from the Planning Commission. 2 of those are public hearings. Does the council want to take consent items 4.1 through 4.3, or we can take them individually? So moved. Motion by Alderman Ross to move with the Planning Commission's recommendations on 4.1 through 4.3. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Pittner. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion? Final call for discussion. Motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Ross?
Yes.
Sitma?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Pittner?
Yes.
Pajagula?
Yes.
Motion is approved. 4.4 is a public hearing. The annexation and rezone of Outlot 35 of Section 29, Township 155 North, Range 82 West. This is a public hearing to consider the request from Lauren Klein for an annexation and a zoning map amendment from Agricultural District to Light Industrial District M1. The property is legally known as Outlot 35 of Section 29, Township 155 North, Range 82 West, Ward County, North Dakota. The property is located at 1613 27th Street Southeast. The recommendations to the City Council by the Planning Commission is recommending the approve and pass an ordinance on first reading to change the zoning designation of Outlot 35, Section 29, 155 North, 82 West from Agricultural District to M1 Light Industrial, and 2, pass an ordinance on first reading to annex the same property into city limits. Again, this is a public hearing for anyone to come forward and speak either in favor, in opposition, or neutral. One more call for a public hearing on the recommendations before us. Seeing none, what is the wishes of the council? Alderman Janser.
Mr. Mayor, I move we close the public hearing and approve the item.
Motion is to approve the item, close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Olson. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Final call for discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Janser?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Pittner?
Yes.
Pajagula?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Sitma?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Motion is approved. 4.5, another public hearing to rezone Outlot 23 of Section 19, 155 North, 83 West. This is a public hearing to consider a request by Ethan and Courtney Erickson, representing Darla and Donald Erickson, for a rezone map amendment from C2 General Commercial to AG Agricultural District for a 10-acre portion of their property to be known as Outlot 23. The property is legally known as an unplatted portion of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter, Section 19, Township 155 North, Range 83 West, Ward County, North Dakota. The recommendations to the City Council is to approve the outlot plat and create Outlot 23, and 2, pass an ordinance on the first reading to change the zoning designation of the property from C2 General Commercial District to AG Agricultural District. Again, this is a public hearing for anyone to come forward and speak either in favor, in opposition, or neutral to the recommendations before us. one more call for public hearing for the recommendations that are before us. What are the wishes of the council?
Mayor, I move that we close the public hearing and approve the item.
Motion by Alderman Pittner to close the public hearing and approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Janser. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Final call for discussion. Motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Pittner,
Yes.
Quadrigula.
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Motion is approved. We do have in section 5 our consent items. There are 12 items on our agenda. Number 5.10 was pulled to be taken up at a later time. So we do have 5.1 through 5.9 and then 5.11 through 5.13. Do any items need to be pulled from anyone in attendance for individual discussion? If not, they will be passed with staff recommendations. Seeing none, what are the wishes of the council?
Move approval on all of the items.
Motion by Alderwoman Olson to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Ross. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Any discussion? Final call for discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Olson,
Yes.
Pittner,
Yes.
Quadrigula,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Janser.
Yes.
Motion is approved. That takes us to section 6. This is the action item section of our agenda. We have one item before us. This is 6.1, the Carnegie Center lease with MACA. The City of Minot owns the Carnegie Center and for the last 10 years has leased it to the Carnegie Association of Minot. The lease expires in August 2021. Staff has heard concerns from public regarding non-responsiveness and inaccessibility to rent the facility for events. The facility is also in need of significant cleaning and maintenance. The city manager has discussed other possible uses with staff and community leaders over the last several months in an effort to reestablish community pride and access to the building. MACA was interested in leasing the building and making it accessible to the general public as well as programming arts and cultural events in the facility. The recommendation of the City Council is to approve a 2-year lease of the Carnegie Center to the Minot Area Council of the Arts, also known as MACA. Mr. City Manager, do you have any further input on this before a motion?
I don't know that I have any further input, but this is an issue that I have heard some public concern regarding, and have spent the last few months talking with community leaders, trying to find what uses would make sense at this facility. We did also provide a letter of notice to the Carnegie Association of Minot. It included a letter that we sent, and then we also made direct verbal contact with them last week to make sure that they were aware of this change coming. I think this is something that, again, as we talk about revitalizing downtown and bringing energy and those types of things to the downtown, we have a great asset in that facility. The city itself has invested quite a bit of money in some repair work to that facility over the last several years. There's still some repair that needs to be done to it. The intent of this agreement was to kind of be a benefit and plus to both the city as well as to the Minot Area Council of Arts in providing them some space to do some arts and cultural events, but also potentially provide some revenue to them. And basically what it's set up as is in one of the attachments to the agreement is a fee list that was provided by the Minot Council of the Arts, and the city would receive a percentage of those fees to cover the costs of utilities and maintenance. And then the remainder would remain with MACA in providing arts, cultural events, and supporting their organization going forward. So with that, Mr. Anderson is here, and I am available as well to answer any questions the council or the community may have with regards to this lease agreement. But I think it has great potential to provide something very positive in our downtown.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. And one of the concerns even the previous Mayor Chuck Barney had was accessibility and trying to utilize that facility. And I very much share a lot of those same concerns and certainly look at MACA being, I think, the next prudent step in being able to, I think, bring that facility back into a more utilized space with a lot more capabilities as many of us have said, that there is a vast amount of opportunity within that building that is just being underutilized wholly at this point. Justin Anderson is here if anyone does have any questions on any of their ideas or process. Alderwoman Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm fully in support of this and will be voting to approve it. However, the question was raised that in the past, some religious organizations have been able to rent the property, and I don't know if there was an answer regarding that, if that would still be a possibility, or if the mission of MACA is different and it would not be allowed.
Alderwoman Olson, I think our city manager had provided some email context to that, but Harold, if you want to expound a little bit.
Yeah, I have asked the city attorney to render an opinion on the use of that. She's been unavailable due to current litigative matters that her office has been handling here for the last week and a half. But in my experience in the past with federal regulations with regards to separation of church and state, but given that this building and property is owned by the city itself, therefore owned by the public, it has been my experience with legal advice in the past, consistent, that is not an appropriate use of a city-owned facility, and you're potentially looking at some potential litigation if someone were to complain and express their concerns about that. And so it would be my advice that not be a permitted use within that facility, simply because it's owned by the city, and it doesn't really matter whether we lease it to MACA or not. The general public, the taxpayers, own that facility, and it should not be used for religious use. But we'll await the opinion of the city attorney when she's able to look at that.
Okay, and just follow up briefly. I know it has been allowed in the past, and I don't know if that had been written specifically into the lease. I didn't see it in the lease that is being proposed before us. And I know that there are other public buildings within our community that religious organizations do rent. So I am anxious to hear the legal opinion on that so that we can do what is right in the eyes of the law.
Alderman Ross.
First of all, do we need a motion before this, or are we just doing information? Then
We can do
making a-
information and take a motion certainly after that.
Justin, when working on this project, putting it together, did you and your board sit down and put together some type of, like a projection, what you're hoping to, or what you think the potential income off this facility could be?
Justin, could you check to see if your mic light is on the bottom? There you go.
There we go. Mayor Sitma, Alderman Ross, we have discussed a variety of things with regard to that. Right now, we're taking it as a we'll see sort of approach. This building has not been in the public light to the extent that it could be over the last several years, so we don't really know what kind of attention it's going to receive. I'm confident that it will definitely get some attention, and I will be utilizing it for programming, as the city manager mentioned. So it's really hard to project how much it will get used. And that's when, in our discussions with the city manager and how we were going to construct this lease, this was part of the reason why we went with a 5-year contract, 2-year lease with renewables as opposed to just a straight 10-year lease, because we didn't know what was going to become of it. As things progress and if the building does become popular, we will be revisiting many aspects of it, including the fee schedule and how it all gets worked out.
Thank you.
Perhaps for a little bit more information too, for those who haven't been inside the facility as of late, it is in need of a lot of work on the interior, not just a deep clean, but the flooring throughout the facility is in well beyond its lifespan and use in terms of the carpet. And if you walk through the building, there's just a ton of maintenance that has not been done. So I know MACA's got its hands full and in stepping into this. So I'm very hopeful that they're able to not only really bring back the facility itself, and I think a ton of character there, but I think there's going to be a lot of work before they get it to the point where it matches perhaps some of the other event capabilities that I think that we all see that could very well be there. But I appreciate the work that the city manager has done and work with MACA on trying to get a stepping stone to bring it back.
Mayor Sitman, it'll certainly be a slow progression as we get use out of it. We'll start with some of my programming. We'll obviously have it offered for rent all along the way, and with the hopes that eventually it will become used to the point that investment in some of those materials that will really make it more on par with some of the other event facilities will exist.
Any other questions for Mr. Anderson at this point? Thank you, sir. If we think of any more, we'll call you back up. At this point, we don't have a motion. I would look for one at this time.
Move approval.
Motion by Alderwoman Olson to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Pittner. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion? Final call for discussion. Motion is to approve.
You're okay.
Please call the roll.
Olson?
Yes.
Pittner?
Yes.
Padragula?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Sitma?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Motion is approved. That takes us to number 7 on our agenda. This is personal appearances. This is an opportunity for anyone to come forward and talk about any item that is or is not on our agenda. We just ask that if you do come forward, that you state your name and city of residence, and we'll allot up to 5 minutes for any topic that you so should choose. One last call for public appearances. Seeing none, that takes us to number 8, and this is miscellaneous and discussion items. I'll just quickly remind everyone that the North Dakota State Fair starts on Friday here in Minot. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone sitting in this room, as it's 95 degrees outside. That can only mean it's time for the fair. So just to remind everybody that the State Fair Parade is also taking place on Saturday. I will be participating in that. I know our police department, our fire department, and our sanitation crews will also be taking part in that, as well as likely a lot of our other city employees in other capacities. Throughout the fair event, or throughout the next week, though, there's quite a few different events that I will be engaged out at the North Dakota State Fair. Certainly, if there's any other opportunities that come forward, I will be passing those along as well to any of the council members if there's any judging opportunities or other items that do come up. But just for everyone else, this is the return from the fair, as it did not happen in 2020. I know a lot of people are looking for things to do, and I really hope that the residents of Minot get out and support the fair and support all of the businesses that missed out in 2020, because this is a big return, and we certainly hope to see a lot of people out there. There's one impact point, as the Canadian border is still not open, and I know that likely is going to have some impact at some point with attendance. So we certainly hope Renee and all of the folks out at the North Dakota State Fair Center all the best, and we're going to do our best to make sure that the traffic and everything else is handled as well as we can. Any other items for individual discussion items today? If not, let's move to liaison reports, number 9 on our agenda, and Alderman Padragula.
Thank you. This month, I attended a bunch of meetings. The first one was the Emergency Resource Council, and we had a very, very educational presentation by the National Guard in terms of their resources for our community and other communities. It really was pretty astounding, all the personnel, all the equipment, all the planning they have available in case of a community emergency. Very, very, very impressive. The Commission on Aging is plugging along. We'll take the month of August off, but we'll have a presence at the State Fair. Nothing major happening there apart from them meeting with the management agent for the building and starting a process of clarifying responsibilities for various things, like who shovels which specific sidewalk and things like that. Repairs on the parking lot are in progress, and things are going fairly smoothly, it looks like. Programming activities will start in August, I believe it is. Yes, again, because of concerns about the pandemic and a vulnerable elderly population. And then last, the Ward County Planning Commission continues to meet and struggle with the county zoning code. And the hope is that we will have something put together by the end of the summer, and then do a road trip to various communities in the county to share the plan and get input from residents. And before that, we will have meetings with interested parties, surveyors, engineers, people like that. So, the code that we're coming up with is implementable and doesn't get in the way of their lives and their work. So looking hopefully at getting maybe something put together and finalized maybe over the winter. Very slow process, but very important. Hopefully we won't have to do this again for another 50-plus years. So that's all I have to report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for Alderman Patagula? Alderwoman Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have not, in all of the committees that I meet on, have not met since our last meeting. And the only reminder I was going to give was the City Hall open house on Thursday night, and City Manager has addressed that. So hope to see everyone there.
Thank you, Alderwoman Olson. Alderwoman Evans.
Well, with tonight's consent item, we are fully boarded up at the library. Lindsay Birch was added to the board with our vote tonight. She is a youth who has graduated from college in Minnesota and moved back to Minot. So it's nice to have a young person represented on the library board, and we're really happy to have her interest. And the library board met last Thursday and voted unanimously to eliminate fines for returned overdue materials, except if it's the tools. So that Director Anderson and her staff will be working on. There's some things that have to happen before that actually occurs, but yeah, we haven't been doing, the library hasn't been doing fines for children's overdue materials for a year, so we've just extended this now to all materials, but they still need to be returned for the fines to be waived. Otherwise, they'll still come after you. Like that bad Seinfeld episode, right?
Any questions for Alderwoman Evans? I just, for mine, we did have our regular MADC board meeting last week. We did have a special meeting this afternoon. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend that, and we'll have more on that likely coming from Chamber EDC. I still say MADC, I apologize. Chamber EDC. And then just very briefly, I did testify down in Bismarck, both actually on Tuesday, the 13th. City manager, myself, and staff went and toured the Snake Creek pumping station. This is in regards to NAWS, to take a look at how they're going to retrofit that facility to pump water through the NAWS system. And then I did testify before the State Water Commission, the Water Commission's Water Topics Committee last Wednesday morning down at the State Capitol. And that is all I have to report. Alderman Ross.
Zoning Ordinance Steering Committee, our report was a part of the city manager's report. We met on June 9th and the 30th, and we have another scheduled meeting on the 28th to go over the subdivision ordinance. And that is my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Ross. Alderman Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no meetings to report on.
All right. Alderman Pittner.
Thank you, Mayor. I sat with Alderman Patrigula on the Comprehensive Plan Selection Committee with city staff, and we did pick an organization to work with. It's the same as the zoning ordinance rewrite that we worked with in the past. So just working out the details, staff are working on the details on the contract, and that should be in front of the council in August.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our liaison reports. Item 10 is adjournment.
For the
Motion by
shortest
Alderman
meeting
Pittner.
of 20, like my whole tenure here. Look at this. Thank you, Mayor, for moving us along.
Well, it's 80 degrees, we've got to move
I
things
know, I
along.
appreciate it.
Motion by Alderman Pittner to approve. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Ross. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.